This is Frederick Watts.
This is Jean Watts.
And
this is Love in 60 Seconds.
We have been married for over 20 years.
And in that time, we have learned a few things that we'd like to share with you.
So if you're single, newlyweds, or seasoned in marriage, we think you will enjoy the upcoming program.
Absolutely. And we want you to like, engage, share, and do all of those wonderful things that we do on Instagram, Facebook, and every other social media outlets. Send us DMs. We want to hear from you.
This is
Love
in 60 Seconds.
60 seconds. Love in 60. Love in 60 seconds. 60 seconds.
Hey everybody, this is Frederick and Jean Watts, and this is Love in 60 Seconds. Hope that you are doing well this evening.
Hello, everybody. I'm still trying to get my act together as usual, so, it's all good. Hope everybody's having a good pre-Thanksgiving type of situation this week, that you're doing good, trying to get yourselves together with regard to Thanksgiving coming up in a couple of days. I couldn't even believe that Thanksgiving is already here, but it is upon us. I'm thankful. I'm thankful for all of you. I'm thankful for you, Mr. Watts. I know you're into doing our stuff, but I'm thankful for you, and just thankful. Just thankful for God's goodness. Thankful for life, health, and strength. My children. I'm thankful for my leaders, my church family, my friends. I'm just really thankful because I'm fully blessed, and I'm glad. I'm thankful.
Yes, we are. Yep, we are. Definitely I'm thankful for you, and God is definitely good to our family, and so we are wishing that all of you, and praying and believing that all of you will also have a wonderful holiday, a wonderful Thanksgiving, even during this time, in this COVID time. So we're going to not be long tonight. We're going to get into our topic tonight. We talked about...
We're talking about focus. We're talking about how to love the person, the person that you, the type of spouse that you married. And a lot of times, what people get into in relationships, they do not realize who they married. A lot of times we get married young, and we don't really know anything about relationships, really. We only know kind of what we visualize and what we've seen maybe in our parents or aunts or uncles or older siblings or something like that, but we don't really know anything about relationships. That's just being 100% real. Just being honest. So we don't know as much as we think we know about relationships, and then that much more, we don't know as much as we should about the person that we married. And it becomes a lot of learning. It becomes a lot of, and Frederick has this real serious look on his face, guys, because he's looking at the screen and he's trying to do some stuff. So never mind him looking super serious in the camera. He's working. So anyways, the person that we married, we have to find out. It becomes a discovery. Discovery of the type of person, and a discovery of ourselves, the things that we like. A lot of times we don't even know what we like and who we are, and we just try to fit into these conformed things that we've seen, and even in the church. Okay, this is how a Christian wife should be. This is how a saved wife should act. This is what a saved wife, how she should love her spouse. And while that is true to a great sense, but you got to find out who the saved spouse, or who that spouse that you've married, who that person is. Because a lot of times you can be that or play that role and not fulfill the needs of that other person and not have your needs met. So that's a really interesting place to be in. But we're going to talk about it tonight, and we're going to talk about some things that can go awry when you don't love that person, and not saying that you don't love that person, but when you don't love the type of person that you married, meaning loving the type of personality that they are.
Because you did marry a certain type of person.
You did.
And sometimes even in your marriage or during your relationship, that the people, they change.
Yeah.
They change, you grow, you expand. And so you want to sometimes be able to make sure that what you're doing even taking a look at yourself, is that you're being able to love your spouse the right way.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
being able to take time to make sure that you are not taking on the cares of the world so much, such other outside factors, that you're not developing the relationship that you need on the inside.
Guys, so what basically we're saying is get to know the person that you are married to. Get to know that person. Whether you've been married for 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, 20 years, uh, uh, 40 years, those, you change, you evolve. We talk about this all the time. Get to know that person and what it is that makes that person feel loved. What it is that makes you feel loved. Get to know yourself. There was a lot of things that I did not know about myself. I didn't know my love language. I didn't know, the things that made me feel loved. I just knew what I did to make other people feel loved. And it turns out that that's my love language.
Right.
If I do something for you, if I take out my time to go and do something for you, know that I love you, because my time is super, super valuable. And that's my love. That's my primary love language is, not just necessarily quality time, but acts of service, because I've done something.
Right.
And I've taken out of my time, and I have done this for you. That is how I pour out my love. And I do it all the time, but people, that's not everybody's love language. That's not everybody's primary love language. So I can be loving them all day like that, and they not really receive it. So we talk about this. We sound like a broken record with love languages, but it is so relevant to having a happy relationship.
It's an important foundation. Yeah. So we appreciate you guys tuning in on Facebook, and those of you watching also on our, it is popping up. Watching on our Facebook channel on What's Up Entertainment, and even those of that are watching on our watch parties. So let's go ahead and talk about this tonight. How do you want to start off, sweetheart?
I thought I had started off, but
Well, let's continue.
so go ahead.
I'm just trying to figure out some things. So,
Sure. No, everything is good. Your production is great, sweetheart. So it's good. We're just gonna get into the conversation, which is what people want to see. And so into the conversation. All right. So how do I love this person? Again, the first part is finding out who that person is. And then finding out who you are. And what do we mean by finding out? What are the things that make them tick? What are their likes, their dislikes? What is their history? What is their past? I was listening to a lady talk about, and she's like a television personality, but I was listening to her talk about baggage from her past relationship. And she was in a relationship with her current husband, and she had been in a relationship in the past, and they had gotten into a heated discussion. And he was, her current husband was just like, throwing his hands up, and he was like, just, grabbing his fists and just like, and she just started hitting him. She just started hitting her current husband. He was like, what in the world? What is going on? Why are you hitting me? And she was like, you're not going to hit me. You're not going to hit me. He was like, that never once crossed my mind. Never once crossed his mind. But the baggage of her old relationship, which she had to admit she had baggage from her old relationship, and the baggage from her old relationship caused her to lash out at her current husband in a way that she expected him to lash out, and he had no
That's not current.
oh, okay. He had no no idea of what is, what was going on. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find it. That's why we're mad.
No problem.
Okay, so I don't see it.
And don't worry about it. So,
Okay.
what we're talking about is that you have to be able to know your spouse, and sometimes past relationship or past experiences
Yeah.
do not affect how everything is. So a lot of times your spouse may have a certain reaction to a situation because of a past experience. And so you have to be able to understand, because sometimes the reaction may be negative. So
Yeah.
sometimes you might, if, like you said, in that situation, that person had an abusive relationship or abusive experience when they had turmoil.
Yeah.
So now when she experienced turmoil in her new relationship, she expected the abusiveness.
Yes.
And that's not the case. And so you have to be able to understand sometimes past baggage or past relationships can affect your spouse, how they act and how they respond to everything, your love, to your emotions. And so we're just trying to help you tonight on how to deal with that.
Yeah.
And we do apologize. We can't see a lot of the comments, so we're hoping that you're liking and sharing. And please like and share, and we will respond to all the comments and everything once we get done. I don't think we can see everything tonight. But so talking about how to love your spouse, and especially the type.
Yeah.
Sometimes the person that you married may not be the type of person that you expected.
Yeah.
Especially if you didn't date for a long time or whatever, had a change, something's changed. Let's say a spouse is going through a grief period.
Sure.
And they may be grieving a loss of a loved one or something, or some type of emotional disconnect.
Right.
So they may not be that same type of jovial person or that same type of
Sure.
person that you are. So how do you love them through that period?
Yeah.
You have to understand, certain life and things affect people different ways.
Yes, they do. And you love a person even when they make mistakes, and like they're on their Facebook page and they try to share a watch party and they are not on the right thing. Hey, I am technically challenged sometimes. That is why I have this person. So you have to have patience with your spouse when you're going through stuff. But again, you bringing up, when a person is grieving, when a person, and especially, and we're just going to interject here because we're going to fast forward and go to some other things, but especially, of course, in this season, dealing with people that are dealing with loss, it changes a person. It changes a person. It changes an individual when they're dealing with loss. But you got to be really careful, because if you've never lost a person that's close to you, you do not really know how to handle that grief. And you may think, well, this person is just really overreacting, or this person is, or, you may be judgmental about their grieving process. You cannot do that because you don't know, especially if they've lost somebody close, like a parent or a grandparent who was like a parent or something like that. It changes a person. Mm-hmm. It changes a person. So you definitely have got to make sure that you are learning how to love that person through that. Ask them what they need. Ask them what it is that they're dealing with. Ask them what it is that you can do to help them to cope with that loss. Mm-hmm. You got to ask them so that you'll know. Very true. So what's one way that you can, what's the one advice that you would give how to love your spouse, that your type of spouse? What are some examples or some points that you would talk about on how to love that person? Well, as far as like defining how to figure out how to love that person, again, it's by communication. It's by asking questions. It's about asking quantifying questions, and then observation. Because sometimes people don't know that they think they're giving you the answer, just like you may not know about yourself. It is really by observation and really by research. Like I said, I wish 1,000 times that, videos like this were available to me, or I even knew to look at videos when we first got married, or prior to getting married, even more so. Mm-hmm. Because there would have been a lot of things that I would have known, a lot of things I would have paid attention to, a lot of things I would have understood, a lot of things that would have really just prevented us from having certain pitfalls in our relationship, because I would have been prepared. I would have had the tools to prepare for things that were going to come in the future that may not be experiencing now. Because I remember sitting in a seminar that was taught by my pastor, my first lady, and they were talking about a bunch of things. They were talking about all kinds of stuff, and I remember saying in my head, I'd never had that kind of argument with my husband. Mm-hmm. Because we just, we have an understanding, and lo and behold, not too long after that, I had that kind of argument with my spouse. And so you just don't know, you can't just say what's never going to happen, because you don't know what's going to happen in your relationship. You don't know what life is going to bring, but you do know that no weapon formed against you is going to prosper. That's right. But you don't know what is, what life is going to bring. So you got to ask questions, you got to pay attention, and you got to make observations.
And so, if you wanted to take some notes, one thing that you definitely do, and you just said it, pay attention, but offer your undivided attention. Because your spouse needs to have your attention, and not just part of it. There's sometimes when my wife may be doing something and we're sitting at the table today and we're both working on work or something, and if she makes a comment and I just sort of or just sort of not react and giving her attention, it makes you feel unappreciated,
and unvalidated.
Absolutely. And so sometimes or the way to make your spouse feel validated all the time is that give them your undivided attention, because that's your best friend, that's your confidant in life, that's your it doesn't take but a moment to look up, acknowledge them, and say, hey, I hear what you're saying, I'm interested in what you're saying, let's have a conversation, you have my attention. And that also is a fence, what we talk about, a fence, meaning that you're able to make that spouse feel comfortable and feel validated.
Absolutely.
Essential part of marriage.
People trip out and act like they don't need your validation, but your spouse 100% needs your validation and your undivided attention. When they're speaking to you, don't blow them off. You know what I'm saying? When they're speaking to you, if your husband is asking you a question or making a request, don't blow them off. Look at them in their face, and even if the answer is not necessarily what they want to hear at the time, if he's asking for let's get it going, and you're like, honey, I can't, like not right at this moment, but I love you, but it's coming. You know what I'm saying? You gotta validate your husband's request, whether he's asking you for sex or you're asking him to take you to the grocery store or whatever it is. You gotta validate what they're saying.
Yeah. Definitely. All right. What's another thing, or what would you say another note, if you were giving notes or somebody to make sure that they're loving their spouse the right way, or to love the person that they marry?
Well, we put down ask to see their creations, or ask to be involved or interested in whatever it is that they're doing. If you're, my husband is very good at asking me what's going on in the real estate world, in my real estate world, because real estate, believe it or not, if you do enough of it, and well, even if you don't do enough, it can be very stressful, because you are responsible for helping someone else make a really big life decision. And certainly I've been blessed to get a lot of awards and accolades, and I've done a lot of business, and I love what I do, but it becomes really, really stressful. And sometimes when my husband asks me, as though he's interested in and I believe he is interested in what's going on in my real estate world, that again helps me with that validation, but it also helps me feel like he's interested in my life. And not only that, but just other things that I do, him asking to do that, engaging with me with what I do. I mean, as far as, I don't know if you have something else to chime in to add about that, and praising their work.
Yeah, your spouse has something that's a talent that you admire, or they have something that they bring to the relationship. And so you should always, ask about it. If they are in the arts, if they like a certain type
they can make a chair, they can make a bench, this is a beautiful bench, or you can paint the room, or whatever.
Even if they like a certain television show, it'd be like it's a conversation starter. Hey, did you watch your show today? What happened? Because you're showing interest, you're validating, and then it's also a communication remedy, or not, I wouldn't say a trick, but a way to communicate and start open conversation or dialogue, because if there is something that they're dealing with, you're opening that dialogue by showing an interest in something that they like, something that they appreciate, or something that's important to them. Right.
So it's important to not let your spouse feel shut out of any part of your life. You should be an open book. They should be able to pick up your phone and go on your phone. They should be able to go on your laptop, cross use your laptop. There should be no secrets, because when there is distance, that's when secrets come in, and secrets are not good for intimacy. Secrets are the enemy of intimacy. So if you can't, and then the lack of intimacy is the enemy of great sex. It is the enemy of it. If you want to have fantastic sex, you want to have great love life and great intimacy, great closeness in that way, then you need to have great intimacy and transparency. You got to have those things in order to be able to really have that appreciation and have that closeness in your relationship. So what can happen if that doesn't happen? I know we got a couple of clips tonight. So what happens if you're not sharing, if you're not open, or just, like not really in tune with the person that you're loving?
Well, you've already said it is going to create a lack of intimacy. It also can create a lack of trust. It also can create a lack of or bring in loneliness because that spouse doesn't feel, like we said, validated, appreciated. And we actually want to play one of the clips. There was a interview from a radio personality called Willie Moore Jr.
Yeah.
And he was just talking about how his drive to provide as a man, how it affected him because he put so much effort in something that he had seen. His father did it. His father told him that the best way to be a man is to go out and provide.
Yeah.
And maybe lack the talking or the instruction of saying, but while providing, you also need to provide in the home. And it wasn't wrong because he was doing what it was thought of being a manly thing to do, which is to provide, but has neglected, some of the needs of a spouse.
Yeah, so let's listen.
Yeah, let's play this clip and then we'll come back.
Because I was going through something internally. I would never blame her. I think it was really totally me just on the inside, having this thing of wanting what I seen in my head faster than God wanted to give it to me. And so you find yourself trying to rush to a place, but in the midst of a rushing, for me, I put on those blinders. Like if I want to write a book, I can shut the world out and jump in, but there's so much collateral damage from cutting people off. And so that's what I seen myself doing, and I really hurt her.
Yeah, and we don't think about it because we just think, well, those people who are close to us, we think they'll understand.
You got to understand. You see me every day. You know what I'm doing it for. It's for you.
That's sort of an argument that you hear a lot. Everything I'm doing for you.
Yeah, but that goes back to love language. Yeah. He's doing acts of service. He's out there working. He's out there hitting. He's out there on the grind. And he even said that, his wife, if we played more of it, we didn't, but he talked about his wife was in a situation where she grew up where you go to college, you get a good job, you work 30 years and you retire. And that's how you do it. But he grew up like you get your own business, you get your own hustle, you do. So, while he was getting his own business, getting his own hustle, he would kind of cut her out and really deeply hurt her. And how often is it that we're doing something in the way that we understand it, and we hurt our spouse because we're not sharing with them who we are, so she needed to feel loved and security, and he was not providing that. He was trying to provide a life.
Right. And that's one thing that you said. Sometimes, or a lot of times in relationships and marriage, the men are so focused on providing. And when you say providing the material things, providing the money, the all that, but a lot of times, and like in our dynamics, both of us provide money towards the household. Both of us have all those things. But what he didn't provide was security, and especially from a male to a female, most women need that security. Absolutely. They need to understand that their home. That not only their home is provided for, but that their spiritual content is provided for.
And he also needed to feel that he could provide, because when they first got married, and like I said, we didn't play that part, but he said that she was the primary breadwinner. He wasn't making very much money, and there are many dynamics or many relationships or marriages that are like that. And then there are seasons in relationships that are like that, because we've been through a season like that where I was working full time and you had been laid off your job, and I was working, and I was working 10 hours a day, and making sure that I was bringing home whatever, because everything was ours, and we survived that without being emasculated, because everything that we do is ours.
Right.
So even though I was going out and working, you were not put down because you were in a season where you were laid off. And a lot of times people have that dynamic, but men struggle with that. So ladies, you have to be sensitive when a man is not bringing in as much money as you are. You still got to learn how to
if everything, and I know people got all kind of dynamics on how they handle their money and how they handle it, but if everything is ours, you don't have a problem with who makes more money because everything is still ours.
Right. That's right. It's all
Yep.
going in the pot.
Yep.
So, so how do you love that type of spouse? Depending what type of spouse that you have, and their personality, like we said, can change for a myriad of reasons. But
Yep.
always, I think one interesting thing is always allowing your spouse to be themselves.
Yeah.
That's very important because you don't want to feel restricted in your own marriage. You don't
Yeah.
want to feel devalued in your own marriage.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that there won't be habits or certain situations or certain things that maybe your spouse can improve on, but allowing them to be themselves. If
Yeah.
they like to walk around with no pants on at 12 o'clock when nobody's home, let them walk around no pants on at 12 o'clock, or whatever. And I'm jokingly
Yeah.
saying that.
Sure.
But allowing them to be themselves also allows freedom in the relationship.
Yeah.
And then freedom allows you to be able to communicate, be able to talk through problems, be able
Yeah.
to laugh, enjoy each other. And so being able to let your spouse fully be themselves is very important, because if you allow them to, or if you're always trying to change them, always criticizing them, always telling them what they're not, and not building them up to what they can be, you're not building a good foundation for your relationship.
Yeah, you can't repeatedly tell somebody, you don't do this right, you're not this, I don't like this. No one wants to hear that all the time. And even when you do say that, when you do offer your constructive criticism, you got to do it in a way that's loving and gentle. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, because it talks about one of the ways is telling the truth in love. Right. The Bible says, tell the truth, but tell it in love. Right. Sometimes we tell it in authority, or tell it in, I'm going to get you set straight, or I'm going to get you together. Mm-hmm. We tell it in that. And that is not the spirit in which God wants us to tell the truth. He wants us to tell it in love and in gentleness and in kindness, because when you tell it in love, then people can see that reflection in the mirror and say, oh, I never looked at it like that.
Yeah. Because, even what he said at the end of that, or like if you throw a grenade, a sniper is aimed at one person, and he shoots at one person, and he takes out one person. You throw a grenade, you take out everybody, in that area. So if you were throwing bombs at your spouse, like you said, there's collateral damage that comes in
collateral
that,
damage.
Now it's not only going to affect them; it's going to affect your household. It's going to affect your relationship. It's going to, and that's what the enemy does. He just throws it out there and try to destroy everything.
That's right.
So your words, your actions, if you don't get them in check and you don't understand how to love your spouse properly, you can have a lot of collateral damage that goes just outside of your relationship. It will affect your children.
Yeah.
It will affect your household. It could affect your finances.
That's good.
Decisions. You gambling, it affects more than everything.
That's good. That's
everything.
good. No, so write that down. Your criticism to your spouse is a grenade. It will have tons of collateral damage. It can damage your children, damage your other relationships. So be careful with that criticism. All right. So be snipers with it. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's just for you. No, right. No. All right. So another thing is you can make sure that you're laughing at your spouse's jokes, that you show them that they entertain you, that they make you happy, they make you laugh, they make you smile. Again, that's validation. It can sense of humor. We laugh. My husband and I. This one here, we laugh at so much stuff. And we have developed pretty much the same sense of humor. Mm-hmm. And we can look at stuff and we'll be cracking up on the inside without sharing one word. And, my husband, he says things or does things and, he'll have me laughing. And I'm genuinely laughing, but I know that if I say something or whatever, it gives validation if he laughs. If I say something and I'm joking and I'm trying to keep it light, and he stone face and give me side eye or whatever. Well, that's not good. That doesn't make me feel good. That doesn't make me feel validated. Doesn't make me feel fun or light. It doesn't make me feel any of that. You know what I'm saying? So you got to make sure that you're doing something as simple as enjoying your spouse's wit.
Yeah.
If they're being witty, enjoy their wits. Enjoy their sense of humor. Now, if they have a vulgar sense of humor or you don't understand their sense of humor, laugh at something anyways. Just like, you are so unique. I'm going to just figure out your humor and you're nutty, you're funny, whatever it is. But enjoy, their sense of humor. The next thing that I would probably say
would be allow them to fully be themselves. And you mentioned that already. Let them be themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
That's very important because, and once again, we do appreciate you guys.
I'm looking at my son. Sorry.
We can't really see your comments, so we're getting them late, but we do appreciate you engaging with us tonight. But
Yeah.
being able to, what'd you say, marvel at their talents?
Let them be themselves.
Let them
This
be
is what
themselves.
we're let them be themselves.
You know-
marvel at their talents is the next thing.
Yeah, but letting them be themselves is something that we've already, sort of even hit on more, is that they have to be free to enjoy the things that, they do.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that's important. And, and you like that talent that they had when you were dating.
Absolutely.
or
You was
something.
okay with it
Yep,
then.
you
Be
were
okay with it
so
now.
Be okay with it now.
Absolutely.
And that goes into marveling at their talents. They have something that caught your eye.
Absolutely.
That from their looks to their personalities to their laugh to whatever it was, that is their talent.
Yeah.
And then a good servant brings their talents to the king, sort of. And so, a good servant in relationships, you serve each other. You should be able to bring your talents to present to your spouse,
I mean, you can never give your spouse too many wows. You can never be like, wow, that is amazing. Oh, honey, you did such a great job with that. Oh man, you did a great job with the kids, or you fixed that so wonderfully. You did whatever. Marvel at whatever it is that they're good at, and everybody's good at something. And help your spouse explore what they're good at and what they're great at. And I mean, build it up. Let them know that, you love them so, because listen, they will go nowhere else to hear that building, that loving, because you're not just feeding their ego, but you're feeding their need for attention. And we all have it. We all have need of attention. Men needed a lot of attention, but women do too. We just need it in different ways. So we're giving them that attention by marveling at your spouse's talents, no matter what their gifts that God gave them. They've got something. I don't care if it's, they can sit down on the chair nice, quiet, whatever. Just like
one thing that my wife has done consistently, and then I try to do, is that we all have certain talents.
Yeah.
And we all have some good skills, and even in ministry, certain talents that we have. My wife has never admired somebody with the same talent that I had and said it was better than mine. Even
it's not.
Even if I knew it was,
it's not,
because that's how she built it up. She asked me one day, like, who's her favorite singer? I was like, you are. I've always loved the way you sing. I've always loved the way you ministered. I've always loved that, and that's a talent that I have. I tell you all the time that I enjoy. Because it's just a part of. There's nobody that can give you a compliment like the one you love.
Absolutely.
So if you are complimenting your spouse and telling your spouse, and they are receiving compliments about your talents from the one they love, it goes a long way.
It does, because you don't want somebody else, and let's just be real about it, you don't want somebody else coming up and telling your husband, oh, you did some great videos. Ladies, let me just tell you, that's a good place. So you don't want no smoke. You don't want no smoke from Gene Watts. Don't be complimenting my husband on nothing. Okay? No, just playing. You can compliment him, but compliment him when I'm with him. Thank you. Otherwise, you might catch some smoke, because God is still working on Gene Watts. Come on, somebody. All right. But anyways, but the same thing, because he going to be like, don't compliment my wife. I already know. Yep, she sure is. Thank you. So again, if you're doing it and if you're building up your spouse, then they're not craving it. And so nobody else can come step and tell your wife, oh, wow, you look fantastic in that dress. Or not even that direct, can be like, and if you say it, she's like, oh, God bless you. Thank you so much. Oh, that's really sweet. And she can keep it moving. And she not hanging on some other dude's words or saying that, you're really smart, or you're really quick with that. Or oh, really? You for real? You think so? You know what I'm saying? She's not craving it, or he's not craving that attention. Give them that attention so that, they're not craving it.
We're not going to stand, but I want to just, one more thing about that, which is good, is because, like you said, if you give them the attention, then they don't, even if other people give them attention, whether their intentions are good or just a compliment, it doesn't validate them. It's just a compliment.
It's just a compliment. Thank
But you are the validation.
Absolutely.
And then we've talked about this before. Don't validate other people, especially the opposite sex, if you're married, and not validating your own and validating.
Yeah,
your
let me
own.
just say, I know we said we weren't going to stay on this, but let me tell you this.
Yep,
I was in a certain situation, and this fella came up to me. And now I know I try to keep myself together, saints and friends. I try to keep myself together. I try to look good, try to smell good, because I like to do it, first of all, for myself. I like to do it as a representation of my husband, that he keeps me looking good and he keeps me well dressed. And then it's a representative of just being a kingdom citizen. But I was with somebody, and he was with his spouse. He came up to me and said, now this is the first time he's seen his spouse that day as well, because she was asleep when he left home or whatever the case was. I'm sorry, but anyway, nope. They ain't none of them on here. Ain't they not watching? They might watch later, and if they do, they need a lesson learned. But he comes up to me and says, "Oh God, you look so beautiful and you smell good," and I was like, "God bless," and did not acknowledge his wife. I want to punch him in the throat. I didn't, but I really wanted to punch him in the throat. I was like, but listen, I just deflected. It was like, but your wife, oh my God, you keep her looking stunning at all times. I'm like, hands down, this girl is a queen. But it made me feel uncomfortable a little bit. I'm like, dude, are you serious? Are you really serious? You're going to get hit in the face. But like I said, you got to make sure that you are the person that you fill your reservoir up so much, until if you do compliment somebody else, it is nothing. It's nothing. Your wife don't care, and you know what I'm saying. Yeah. And and the lady that you compliment, or the man that you complimented, don't care.
And
you know what I'm saying?
It's also on the flip side of that is that because I do try to build my wife up and give her compliments and be genuine about it.
Yeah.
I'm not intimidated if somebody else says,
Yeah.
"Oh, you look nice," or "You
right.
wearing a nice dress."
No reason for jealousy.
Exactly.
Like,
I know
she absolutely does.
Because her reaction is going to be like, "Yeah, you're telling me something that my husband already told me." So it's not a validation. It's just a compliment.
It's just a compliment. Compliment is fine.
Compliments are
fine.
But if you don't marvel at their talents, then instead of it being a compliment, it could be perceived as being validated.
Yeah.
And
which can be an enticement, which can lead to a bunch of foolery that you don't want.
Right. So we'll hit one more. We'll play one more clip, and then that'll be it for this evening. And then we're going to come back next week and talk about this some more. Maybe do a part 2.
Yep. So we can talk about the next thing being be a safe space for vulnerability. We talked about this before. You want to be that place where your spouse can be vulnerable, where they can have weakness and they not be judged, where they can express their weaknesses to you, whether there's things that you might be intimidated by or that you are afraid of, but let them be able to share it with you, because that is the 4th C in our relationship circles. That is when you are confidants. When you're confidants, that's the highest level. When you can, a confidant is, you got you chums, you buddies, you know what I'm saying? You, a couple, you companions. But then when you're confidants, because a lot of people just stop at being a couple. But when you become a confidant, that means I can share anything with you.
Right.
I can share anything. Well, they stop at being companions. We go everywhere and we do a lot of stuff together. But when you're a confidant, that's like the relationship that's next to God. I share everything with you, but you got to be able to let that. And our bishop talked about transparency some time ago, a couple of weeks ago, about being transparent and being able to share. You got to let that person be vulnerable and be weak before you, and then pray their strength.
That's so important, because it's really a fence. People don't think about that as vulnerability being a fence, because especially with men, most of the time, if they feel that they can't be transparent, then they have no outlet. Meaning that if I'm a person that's emotional and I cry in front of you or I express my heart and your reaction is not tender back to me, then you probably are not going to get that vulnerability from me ever again. And you won't get that transparency, and then you're going to wonder why I have either seeked it from somewhere else, or I've had I'm not distant or not open, and then you're like, well, why don't you communicate with me? Because I don't feel comfortable being vulnerable
Absolutely.
to you, and so that creates a wedge, and it might be something small, but over time it grows into something big. So you have to be able to allow your spouse. If your spouse is a crier, if your spouse, even when they get mad, if they talk loud, or whatever it is that they do when they are expressing their emotion to you, first of all, it's important that you should be glad that they are expressing themselves. But nobody wants to be naked.
Nobody does.
Wants to be vulnerable, so you have to allow a safe place for them to be that.
As a matter of fact, and I'm just going to kind of go biblically right here. When God created Adam and Eve, He created them. And they was roaming through the garden naked, and they lost their vulnerability when they allowed Satan to come in. They lost that vulnerability, and they didn't know that they were naked until after they had sinned. And they were. The Bible says they were naked and not ashamed. When you have that transparency, when you have that confidant, a level of relationship, you're naked in front of that person and not ashamed. You're not embarrassed that you're a crier and you're a guy. You're not embarrassed that you're a lady and you got anger issues or whatever it is. You're not embarrassed and you're not ashamed, because that person is your ride or die. They 10 toes down, no matter what. And you are like Planet Fitness. You are a judgment-free zone. Judgment-free zone. You do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying?
That's good.
So we got another clip. We're going to have you take a look at that, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, and then we're probably going to be wrapping up for tonight.
Yeah, I'm going to play this last soundbite for you.
I was so clueless of how to love the type of man I married. I was just living and not really understanding or paying attention to what my husband wanted or needed. What he required from me was something I wasn't aware I needed to provide or knew how to give. Man, did this cause a rift in our marriage. I cried every night because I could feel distance growing between my husband and I just didn't understand why. Then it happened. He told me I'm cheating. My heart sank.
All right. So that was Willie Moore Jr.'s wife, I believe it was. They have a book, and it's a pretty good book called Happily Ever After, I think it is called.
Yeah.
So
Happily After All.
Happily After All.
Yeah.
And a lot of times in relationships and marriages, you have those things. Of course, everybody's not going to experience that most serious level of infraction, that most serious level of what's the word I'm looking for? Betrayal. Right. But many people will experience that. But they share that there's happiness you can get to after that. There is a place of peace that you can get through after whatever that thing that came to break you and to break your relationship. If you allow God to be in the middle of it, if you allow this transparency, if you allow your heart to be washed with the word of God and to be mended by the hand of God and by your spouse. Now I'm going to go to Beyonce's Bible. Beyonce says, "Put me back together like you broke me in two." And that was actually a very profound statement, because the person that breaks you, the person that does the offense, the person that says something to you that hurts your feelings, the person that says something to you or does something that offends you, that offense, that offender can bring so much healing if they will allow God to use them to do that. The first part of that healing comes in the repentance, but the second part of that healing comes in the understanding that you've been given an opportunity to make amends, and that you pour out your love on the person that you've offended and heal that person in whatever place where you broke them.
That's true. And a lot of times, we talk about, some of the offenses that happen, but most of the offenses start emotionally.
Absolutely.
And like what you said, even what she was talking about, it was an emotional offense where the cheating wasn't a physical violation, it was emotional, because there was no connection. And when you talked about Beyonce saying breaking you and putting you back together, it doesn't even have to be a physical.
No, it doesn't have to be
Most
that.
of the time, it's emotional because
Yeah.
you're not communicating, you're not sharing, you're not being transparent, and you're not loving the way that God intended you to love. So you have to understand what type of spouse you have,
That's right.
and then how to love them the right way.
Absolutely. There's some basic principles for each sex. And then, like I said, we're getting ready to sign off, and we'll finish this up. We do have some more, that we'll finish this discussion up next time. But for men, there's a basic need for men to be honored and respected. You don't even have to give them like a whole bunch of lovey-dovey love, but you got to honor and respect a man. I don't care what he's doing, how much money he makes, what he looks like, how he dresses, how he smells. You have got to give a man a basic level of respect and attention. You got to give them two of those things. And then for a woman, you got to give her a basic level of love, adoration, and attention. Again,
security.
and security. Got to give her security as well. Absolutely. Got to give her those things. But, I'm kind of a little bit on the fence. Well, I won't say I'm on the fence about security. You do got to give her security as far as in the relationship, because security means a lot of things now, because a lot of times women are self-sufficient in their financial money, and their financial security. So a man doesn't have to necessarily make a whole lot of money or make more money than she. But that's not really security, right? Security is secure in her position in his life.
Yeah.
So you got to give her a woman that. So if you give a woman those basic things, give a man those basic things, you're on a really good road to a successful relationship.
Right. Well, we've been on for a little while, so we appreciate you guys. Once again, I'm sorry, we are going to go back and look at the comments. We couldn't really see them this evening.
Yeah.
But we do appreciate your engagement. Please
Yes.
like and share this with somebody. Continue to send us DMs and engage with us. And then, like we say always again, on our YouTube page, you can go back and watch. And even on our Facebook page, you can watch some of our stuff that we talked about. And this will be up on WhatsApp Entertainment and WhatsApp Media on Facebook. And continue to follow us on Instagram at WhatsApp Entertainment.
Yes, it's getting late, guys. But yes,
so-
lots of entertainment.
Yeah. And then also we've been hearing also as well, send your DMs, your text or whatever if we're thinking about moving our time up earlier. If you guys would like to maybe see an 8 o'clock time instead of a 9 o'clock time. So we hope that you're doing well. We are praying for you. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Enjoy your family. And we will see you next week. This has been Frederick and Jean Watts. And this is Love in 60 Seconds.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Well, guys, we have to wrap it up this evening. We really hope that you've enjoyed our conversation.
Yes, this conversation has been amazing, and we want you to tune in again next time so that we can discuss more of these amazing topics and these topics of interest. Then don't forget to DM us, contact us, reach out to us, and we will definitely respond back.
This has been Love in 60 Seconds. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
All right, good night, everybody.
60.